How far would you go when everything you've built starts to crumble? Meet Jason, a seemingly successful man living in the whirlwind of New York City. By day, he was a trusted employee at a prestigious jewelry store, a place where the sparkle of diamonds and the luster of gold filled the air with a promise of luxury and allure. Every morning, Jason walked through those polished doors, greeted by the glint of well-lit showcases, each piece telling a story of opulence and dreams. But this world of shimmering beauty was more than just a workplace. It was a stage for relentless pressure and towering expectations. As he maneuvered through his duties, the weight of maintaining this facade of success grew heavier with each ticking second of the store's ornate clock. Surrounded by the finest jewels, Jason's life mirrored the precious stones he handled. Brilliant on the outside, yet under scrutiny, fraught with hidden flaws. Beneath the glittering surface, a storm was brewing, one that would challenge everything Jason knew. In the blink of an eye, stability can turn to chaos. For Jason, this chaos arrived on an otherwise ordinary Tuesday morning. Surrounded by the opulence of glittering jewels, he was unexpectedly summoned into his manager's office. The words "you're fired" echoed in his mind long after they were spoken, each syllable a hammer strike to his future. As he stepped out of the jewelry store, the weight of the world seemed to crush him. The bustling streets of New York City, once a symphony of possibilities, now roared with the relentless reminder of his failure. His mind spun with the immediate fear of financial ruin. How would he pay his rent? What about his mounting debts? The questions swirled, each one a dark cloud looming larger and larger. Back in his small apartment, the walls seemed to close in on him. The refrigerator was nearly empty, a stark testament to his dwindling savings. Every unpaid bill was a reminder of his precarious situation. With his livelihood stripped away, Jason found himself staring into the abyss of despair. Desperation can make a thief out of any man. In the bustling heart of New York City, where the relentless pace never slows, Jason's life was unraveling. Once surrounded by the gleam of precious jewels, he now found himself engulfed by the shadows of looming debts and the cold grip of eviction notices. As the days passed, the weight of unpaid bills grew heavier, and the sparse contents of his refrigerator became a stark reminder of his dwindling means. The support network that once buoyed him, friends, colleagues, even family, seemed to dissolve into the background noise of the city. Jason was left to face his mounting crises alone. With each passing day, the isolation gnawed at him more fiercely. Phone calls went unanswered, his pleas for help lost in the void. The walls of his small apartment seemed to close in, a constant reminder of the tightening noose of his financial and emotional plight. Knowledge can be a tool or a weapon depending on the hands that wield it. For Jason, his deep understanding of the jewelry store he once served wasn't just familiarity, it was his lifeline. He meticulously mapped out his plan, utilizing every shred of knowledge about the store's layout and the timings of the security routines. As he sketched the blueprint of the store on a crumpled piece of paper, Jason's mind wrestled with the gravity of his decision. Each line drawn was a step further from the man he once was and a step closer to the man he felt he needed to become. The internal conflict was palpable. Stealing was against everything he had stood for, yet the mounting desperation made it seem like the only viable path left to tread. He justified his actions as a means to an end. The sparkling gems that had once symbolized achievements and dreams were now mere tools in his survival kit. What was once a place of employment was now a blueprint for survival. Under the cover of darkness, desperation took hold. Jason, clad in black, approached the back entrance of the jewelry store, his heart pounding in his chest. The night was quiet, save for the distant sound of sirens that seemed to echo his frantic thoughts. He paused, taking a deep breath, steadying his nerves before slipping a slim gem out of his pocket and expertly maneuvering it to pop the lock open without a sound. Once inside, Jason moved with precision, his every step a testament to the countless hours he had spent memorizing the store's layout and security protocols. He navigated through the dimly lit corridors with a practiced ease, avoiding the well-placed security cameras that had once been under his watchful eye. His familiarity with the store was both a weapon and a curse, reminding him of the life he once had. Approaching the main vault, Jason's hands were steady as he entered the security code, the numbers ingrained in his memory. The vault door swung open silently, revealing the glittering treasures inside. His breath caught at the sight, rows upon rows of diamonds, gold, and precious stones that shimmered in the low light. This was it, the culmination of his desperation. With meticulous care, Jason filled his bag with the most valuable items, each gem carefully selected to ensure maximum value for minimum volume. The weight of the jewels in his bag was nothing compared to the weight on his shoulders, each stone a symbol of his shattered dreams and last hopes. As he retraced his steps, avoiding the laser sensors with a dancer's grace, adrenaline surged through his veins. It was a high like no other, a dangerous thrill that pushed his fears into the background. He was almost clear, just a few more steps to freedom. Exiting the store, the cold air hit his face, a stark contrast to the sweat that lined his brow. He allowed himself a moment, a brief second, to acknowledge what he had done. In moments, jewels worth millions were reduced to mere escape tools in Jason's hands. Every action has its consequence. In the wake of the heist, the city was abuzz with the shocking news of a daring robbery at one of its most secure jewelry stores. The investigation launched with a fervor as law enforcement officers combed through every piece of evidence with meticulous care. The scene of the crime was a chaos of clues, but amidst the disarray, a single fingerprint on the underside of a display case began to unravel Jason's hastily woven plan. Security footage, previously overlooked, captured a familiar silhouette, one that matched Jason's distinct gait and posture. It wasn't long before the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, painting a clear picture of the perpetrator. Detectives moved swiftly, tracing Jason's steps back to his dingy apartment, where they found remnants of his desperate plan. A bag stashed under his bed, still glittering with stolen jewels. The arrest was inevitable. Handcuffs clicked around Jason's wrists, a stark contrast to the shimmering bracelets he once sold. As he was led away, the gravity of his actions sank in. The police car's lights painted the night in red and blue flashes, a grim escort away from the life he knew. The journey to the station was silent, save for the distant echo of his own regret. Finally, as Jason was processed and led into his cell, the reality of his new existence began to dawn on him. As the cell door closed, so did the chapter of freedom in Jason's life. From the depths of a prison cell, the world looks different. The cold, unforgiving walls echo with the whispers of regret and the heavy sighs of the incarcerated. Jason sits alone, the dim light casting shadows that seem to flicker with scenes from a life that now feels like a distant dream. Each tick of the clock in the silence of his cell is a stark reminder of the time slipping away. Each second a heavy stone added to the burden of his choices. In his solitude, Jason's thoughts often wander back to the days leading up to the heist. The desperation that once clouded his judgment now gives way to a piercing clarity. The glitter of diamonds and the allure of quick escape have faded, replaced by the stark reality of consequences. He understands now more than ever that the line between right and wrong, once blurred by his urgent needs, is starkly clear in the solitude of his cell. The psychological journey from a man of status to a convicted felon is tortuous. Jason wrestles with his identity. He grapples with who he was and what he has become. The moral implications of his actions weigh heavily on him. He wonders about the trust he betrayed, the people he let down, and the tarnished reputation he can never restore. The impact of his actions extends beyond the confines of this cell, affecting his family, friends, and those who once admired and trusted him. As the days turn into months, Jason's reflections deepen. He thinks about the societal pressures that nudged him toward his desperate act. He ponders the societal structures that glorify wealth and success, often at the expense of moral integrity. While he takes full responsibility for his actions, he also recognizes the elements of society that celebrate material gain, often overlooking the means by which it is achieved. In his solitude, Jason pondered the cost of his desperation, paid in years and lost opportunities. The price of a moment's decision has cost him dearly, not just in freedom, but in the peace of mind and the purity of conscience. As the light fades each evening, Jason faces the toughest truth of all, that every choice has an irreversible consequence, and the shadows of past actions are long companions in the journey of redemption. Every story holds a lesson, hidden within its darkest moments. Jason's journey, marked by a descent into crime, offers us a stark illustration of this truth. His tale is a cautionary one, shedding light on the intricate dance between societal pressures and personal choices. In the heart of a bustling metropolis like New York, the glitter of success often masks the undercurrents of struggle and despair. Jason, once a beacon of professionalism and dedication, found himself cornered by circumstances that seemed beyond his control. His response, though drastic, underscores a universal dilemma: the lengths to which one might go when pushed to the brink. This narrative compels us to reflect on the structures of our society. It prompts questions about the support systems in place for those who find themselves on the edge. How can we, as a community, better identify and assist individuals who are slipping through the cracks? Remember, desperation can cloud judgment, leading even the most upright among us down a perilous path.